Good afternoon. Very warm welcome to you, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to be part of this conference. I will be very happy to show to you my presentation. I'm also very excited to follow all the panelists attending this session. My presentation has the following title: How to Assess the Educational Potential of Touchscreen Apps for Preschoolers. And I would like to introduce myself once again. I was introduced, just tell me, I'm a psychologist at the Salford University in Manchester, in UK, for 3 years. I've been researching into linguistic development of children immersed in digital media. And we have devised, crafted this new tool for assessing educational potential of touchscreen applications. And we design touchscreen applications and bilingual applications to check whether children learn new words, pick up new language competences. Before I started researching into linguistic development of digital kids, I was following the educational development of bilingual children, and you will find my papers and links to my papers on my Instagram. And we know from research that children can learn something from educational applications for preschoolers. So I'm speaking about children below 5 years of age, in the age bracket 3-4. And we had more than 4,000 children researched into, all of them younger than 5, and provided that applications, touchscreen apps, were designed properly and adjusted to the age of children, we know that older children will derive more profits from apps, and that children tend to learn more than the control group. So we give an app that has not educational goal to it, and an app that has been designed as the educational app, we will see that children will derive more from educational app. On the other hand, children will get less competence than in live interaction. So yes, they can derive some competence or knowledge from tablet applications, but it will never replace the value of interaction with another human being. And 2 years ago, a new study was published in the Door and colleagues study. Well, children were able to command new words. After one 10-minute session or 12 session, children were presented with words that were presented in various contexts, in various situations, and for instance, pick up the word hammock. And we could check in what configuration and in what design children were most apt. And in Arnold's team, we have seen another interesting and relevant finding, that children from age 4 to 5, coming from somewhat excluded families where language acquisition could be poorer, took part in an intervention study. They made use for 10 weeks of Khan Academy Kids application, 20 minutes every day. Khan Academy Kids is available on the market. It was not especially designed for this research, for this study, and after 10 weeks of exposure to this app, children were more capable to decipher letters and to find new words. And so there is a potential in touchscreen apps. Indeed, there is a potential, but we need wealth of new studies to discover how children will derive knowledge from such applications and how applications should be designed in order to offer some educational potential. Some of the apps have a potential to be a learning experience. Nevertheless, on the marketplace, we have in excess of 80,000 applications that are called educational applications, so they are labeled as educational devices, but the application market is not regulated, and we don't have the same classification that has been devised for computer games. We don't have international classification for regulating apps. So you can design any application you like, you will label it educational, and it will be there available on the market. And researchers see certain applications, and they ask themselves a question: how come it was labeled educational? How come it is marketed as educational? And in many cases, many educational apps don't have any educational potential to them. And I want to tell you about the studies that we have been having at the Salford University and regularly. So there are two fundamental tools that we designed to capture educational potential of touchscreen apps, and these tools may be a source of assistance in the future if we want to gauge educational potential. And it took us quite a long time to design such tools, and we made reference to the previously designed tools, but they were designed bearing in mind somewhat older groups of children, or they were designed in a very difficult, unapproachable way, not to be easily understood by parents, for instance. Whereas our point was to design some almost intuitive tool that will help you immediately to evaluate an application for preschool kids. For the time being, our tools are available only in the English language version, but I have an ambitious plan to get them translated or to translate them as soon as possible into Polish. So we designed those tools taking stock of all the developmental psychology and taking stock of what we know from previous studies of learning from touchscreen applications. And then we developed the questionnaire or survey to assess educational potential of touchscreen apps. Let's take a sample of apps, 44 apps from Google App Store, Amazon App Store, and Apple App Store. And we identify 10 most popular apps, paid for and free, but some of them were both available in all the free stores. And at the end of the day, we had a sample of 44 apps, 19 for free, 24 paid for, and we used our tools to assess them. This is just an extraction of our questionnaire because it has 10 various items, and an app can get from 0 to 2 points. So the assumption is that if we want to assess an app, we download it, we keep playing it for 5 minutes just to explore various options available, and then we evaluate the app based on 10 criteria 10 items to be checked. And these are the items. This is my working translation into Polish. We will need to verify this with translators to see if the translation is most adequate. And the original language is English. So 10 items, 10 features that an app should have to be educational. So clearly defined purpose, educational goal, like teaching about shapes, about letters, about colors, but also about emotions, about other general things existing in the world. So specified goal. The other thing, in-depth learning. So this should not be just a superficial learning that we click on something, we see something, but this knowledge is not applicable to our everyday life. No, we want this learning experience to be organized in such a way so as to make it immediately applicable for a kid in a real life. So we don't teach them digits like 5, 6, just click on 5, click on 6. No, you go to a shop to buy 5 apples. Can you select 5 apples into your basket? And this is just the knowledge that makes sense, that the newly acquired skills make sense. It is important that apps teach you how to resolve problems that require some reflection. An application must also give you a feedback. So if a kid is making some operations within the application, he or she should receive feedback. Was it correct? Was it not correct? And if it was not correct, perhaps some practical hint what to do to make it better. So very tangible verbal feedback, of course, tailored to the age of the child. And very often we have unspecific feedback like confetti or some round of applause. This is understandable, but it is not concrete enough. So a child would not realize what was wrong, what was correct, and feedback should be specific enough to further enhance the competences that were newly acquired. Also, a child should have been given an opportunity to explore. So this is not like clicking the screens away. No, some options, I want to do this task, then the other task, or this game, another game, and a child should be in control or have a sensation of being in control of what is happening in the application. The next thing is that you should be able to select the level corresponding with your age and your capabilities. And if a child is playing some game on the application using artificial intelligence should make a task more easy, or should gradually introduce more and more difficult tasks if a child proves to be competent enough and proficient enough. So, as I was saying, applications performed quite poorly on our scale of educational potential. So, on average, they were scoring 7 out of 20 points. Additionally, they underperformed in the context of social interactions. So, we wanted that some narrative could be audible, someone who would moderate everything, engage with a child and explain what is to be done. So this would be the ideal social component. In the ideal world, we should also provide for certain instructions that would encourage contacts with the offline world, like go and ask your parents what they think about this, what they think about that. And applications do not offer such possibilities as a whole. And it is also extremely difficult to employ artificial intelligence in order to customize the level of difficulty to particular users' capabilities and needs. So hardly ever have we seen applications that would adjust themselves to the level of competence of players. And applications were performing fairly well in terms of a quality of language. So the language was comprehensible to children of that age. The visual side of applications was good. So there were not pop-up screens in excess. Everything was transparent and more or less approachable. Only 18 out of 44 applications had clearly precise and stated educational purpose or goal. And now let me give you a handful of examples. What is the educational purpose? Here we have Alpha Blocks, an application, an English application, which scored 2 points. That is the maximum for the definition of the goal. So here we can clearly see that this is to teach you new letters and new words. And here there was an application called Barbie, and no educational goal to be seen. So it scored 0. This is about makeup, eye color, lipstick. So this is not an ideal educational goal. This is entertainment, but it doesn't make this app educational. As for this in-depth, profound learning, here we have a very good example of Peppa Pig on holidays. Umieść 4 bagaże na taśmie. Doskonale. Raz, 2, 3, 4. Doskonale.
Było uczenie cyfr i kolorów jednocześnie.
So this is about teaching figures, teaching and identifying objects. 4 purple suitcases. So Peppa was getting ready for her holiday and preparing for her flight. There were suitcases and shapes and colors were somehow smuggled into the app. And this app doesn't have this in-depth learning potential. Yes. This was just about puzzles and putting puzzles together. Theoretically, you could learn how to adjust shapes, but there is not this in-depth learning engaged into it. And here we have an app that scored 2 points for problem solving. And indeed here a child was to identify the pink trapezoid, so we had a combination of colors, shapes, and discerning them from other colors and other shapes. So this is like thinking exercise where you analyze shapes and colors. And another app, it scored 0 points for problem solving pyjamas.
Tu jakby cały koncept apki opiera się na tym, że po prostu
And here the whole concept was about running across the screen and scoring points on the way. So you just need to move up and down, no room for problem solving. And here the app that was granted 2 points for social interactions. So like a hero who guides the kid across the application. I don't know if you could see it, but the blue teddy bear was giving instructions what to do. And here we have an application that scored 0 for social interactions, because there was nobody to pilot a child that needs to repair a car in a car repair, but there is no narrative, there is no instruction. It's extremely difficult to find out, to figure out what is happening and what is to be done. Coming to the close, this is the example of quality language. And one was 0, one was 2 points, the other was 0. The language should be really customized to the linguistic level of a kid, and this language should be proper. Let me move forward, and the level of the application competence level should be adjusted to the capabilities and abilities of a child, and should either make it easier or more difficult, depending on the proficiency of the player. And in order to make applications valuable with educational potential, in the first place, they should have a very clearly defined, clear educational goal. Not so much about teaching digits and letters only, but also fixing problems, cooking, making things, problem solving, in-depth learning. And the language should be really customized to children's needs, and they should give feedback so that children should know when they have performed well. And here, I'm sorry if this is not legible on the screen, but CDD story time, being banking, and island adventures. I think they are available on the Polish market. We have quite many English language applications and not so many original Polish language applications. Some of them were simply translated into Polish, or they are available only in English. And these are the applications that performed very well, judging by our instrument. Thank you very much for your attention.
Our participants were very active in the chat, and what I found interesting is information that approximately 80,000 apps pretend to be perceived as educational, which they truly aren't. So it's important information for us, for grown-ups, because before we download an application for a child, it's a good thing to test it ourselves. Certainly, yes, I hoped that this is what you would understand from my presentation. You do not need to spend a lot of time, but 2 or 3 minutes online with the game. You could also read opinions about this. So I hope our materials, once they are translated into Polish, will also be helpful for you to determine what is the most important thing about such apps. I also have a question that pertains to a study that you mentioned. When children spend 20 minutes a day for 10 weeks using these apps and they improve their digital skills, was it comparable with 20 minutes contact with teachers and illustrations? So were they learning faster using the app? No, unfortunately, we didn't do a comparison. We simply compared with a control group which was using another app which did not have an educational function. So we did not make a comparison to contact with the teacher. A one-to-one contact with the teacher would probably bring even greater advantages for these children. However, these apps can be used as something additional, something that we introduce in order to diversify our time in kindergarten or in school. So it is a good thing to know that there are apps available that can actually contribute to education. Just one word of comment at the end. Studies by Professor Manfred Pizza, digital dementia, showed that children learn in relations with their parents and grandparents more than through any other app. No app can replace a verbal and non-verbal contact with another human being. I believe that you fully agree with me, don't you? Yes, certainly. No digital media can replace contact with human being. And in the context of well-being, because this is the general topic of our session, and we should remember about well-being of the whole family, not just the child that is supposed to play an app. We should also think about well-being of the whole family. So I'm thinking about a mom who is looking after two very small children and needs time to attend to a baby. At that time, a 3 or 4 year old child could do something on his or her own, and this child is not willing to play using building blocks, and they would rather play on a smartphone or a tablet. So it could be to mother's benefit from the point of view of well-being to keep the older child busy for 10 to 20 minutes, and then she can tend to other things. And certainly apps will not replace human contacts. Sometimes small children play for more than an hour a day. And if you do have a tablet at home, if your children play, it would be good to select the apps wisely so that it is not just a thoughtless entertainment and that it has an educational purpose. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Dr. Joanna Kołak. Thank you very much for presenting the results of your studies. I am sure we will meet again during future events. Thank you so much on behalf of our participants as well. Now we shall have a 1 hour's break for lunch, and we shall meet again at 2:30.